Hey, welcome back to another episode of Building Wealth with Real Estate. I'm Cameron Ripley, the broker owner of Vision Forward Realty and of Purpose Home Loans. So, in today's episode, we're going to start not if you're just a first-time home buyer necessarily, but a first-time investor. And so, one of the properties we're going to look at, I'm actually surprised it has not sold, just because the price that it's listed at really reflects a good cap rate that supports where interest rates are currently at. So, this is a property that at the current price, you can probably buy it just qualifying off the income that the property is producing, depending on the lender, right? So this is listed at $495,000. It's 3704 to 3706 Elkhorn Boulevard in North Highlands. It's a decent area of North Highlands. North Highlands does have a pretty high crime rate, unfortunately, but it varies from part to part. With the greater Sacramento area, anytime you get a little close to the freeway, you tend to have a little bit higher crime rates, but you provide a good, safe place for people to live, and people will appreciate that and spend a lot more for it. So this is listed by Kimberly Portner with Nested Real Estate. So the property is bringing in $3,245 per month. There aren't any pictures other than this one of the outside and a really brief description, which probably is a good indicator why it's not, why it hasn't sold yet. But at $3,245 a month with a super rough estimate on today's interest rates, of course, credit, and pretty much credit, if you're using a DSCR loan, a lot of that really plays a factor. And so you're looking at a ratio right at around 1.0 or 1.14. So your monthly payment's just a little bit less than what the property is producing in income. The nice thing about this property is you put 20% down, so that'd be $99,000, or get a price reduction or a credit, and then you put 99,000 down or just 20%. This property is going to start cash flowing. And so I would look at a couple of things, what's going to be the condition of the inside? Does it have room for me to make improvements if I want to make improvements? If I don't have the funds for that, or I don't want to spend any money to make any improvements, then is it already renovated? Which means that it is renting out for a good amount. I want to look at this from the standpoint of, hey, I want to come in and make some improvements, not a ton, right? And I want to be able to increase the value. So over the next 5 years, 2 years, 3 years, it depends what my goal is, right? So if I'm someone who's wanting to build a lot of equity very quickly, so I can do a 1031 exchange to the next property, then I want to make my own improvements. Once someone moves out, I want to increase the rents and be able to sell at a much better cap rate, assuming interest rates have dropped. So if the cap rate, for instance, this property is 7.8%, interest rates, let's just say, are 6.8%, then that means most buyers who are putting 20%, sometimes 30% down, can qualify just off the income the property is producing, and it's a cash flowing asset from day one. Otherwise, if I'm selling at a 6% cap rate and interest rates are at 6.8%, then someone's buying it at a loss, unless if they're putting just all cash down. Um, I want to look at this from the standpoint of increasing the value. But let's just say I bought it as is. I didn't make any improvements, or maybe I did make a little bit of improvements, and I just increased rent 3% every single month or every single year, not every single month. In 5 years, my value would be $561,888 if I sold at the same cap rate that I purchased it at. I like to say, whenever you're looking to sell a multifamily property, I want to look at where the interest rates are at, what the minimum down payment would be, and I want to sell a cap rate that fits a DSCR loan ratio requirement for that type of property, unless if it's just super smooth and it's a pretty big multi-unit complex, because then you're probably going to sell it to someone who put together a real estate fund and they're just looking for a big return on their investment and they're not looking to get a loan. Otherwise, you're going to dramatically lower your buyer pool if you price it in a way that only cash buyers can purchase the asset. So, with this property, I think it's priced pretty well, maybe a little bit of room for improvement. It's up to the person and the interest rate that they get on the property. And once again, just the condition of the inside. If I wanted to buy this property, increase the value a lot faster so that I can do a 1031 exchange to something bigger, then I want to be able to keep some money in my pocket and I'm going to put, or I want to be able to budget some money towards renovations. So once the people's lease are coming to an end, you can find a way to basically to either get them out or find a way to make some improvements, increase the rent at a faster rate, or if someone were to move out, you make the improvement and then you rent it at a higher area rental amount because someone's buying a property that's already renovated. The nice thing about that is in the next 2 to 3 years, if the if the total income that you're bringing in gets to around 4,000 a month, which I think is definitely doable for a property like this, if it was re well renovated, even if it was 3,800 a month, you're looking at a much bigger value. So at 3,800 a month, then you're looking at about roughly 596,000 if you were to sell at the same cap rate. So that's a lot more equity that you can use and do a 1031 exchange, which just means you defer your taxes to the next property, sell the property, move on to the next bigger unit. So in the next video or in the next episode, we're going to talk about a much bigger deal that if you were to use the equity that you built into this property to buy that next deal. So we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.